In February 2023, a very strange incident occurred in South Africa, where residents of Cape Town were surprised to find the bodies of 19 sharks lying on the beach. What was surprising was not only the sheer number of sharks, but also the details that accompanied the scene. All of the sharks, which belonged to the seven-gale broadnose family, were not torn apart or eaten as is typical in predator attacks. Even stranger, each of these sharks was missing just one body part, the liver. Yes, as you may have heard, each shark had a tiny surgical opening, and only the liver was removed, leaving no other part of the body untouched. Now, you might be thinking that a human caught them for this purpose and then disposed of the bodies. But surprisingly, it was not a professional surgeon, but the orca, a marine predator that can be aptly described as a master and expert in the marine world, and one of the smartest and most cunning hunters in the ocean. Before we begin, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell to get our videos delivered to you. It wasn't easy for ordinary people to determine who did it, but for marine biologist Alison Towner, the evidence was crystal clear. From the bite marks found on the sharks' bodies, she knew without a doubt that the attack was carried out by an orca whale. But what was surprising to her was not only the identity of the perpetrator, but also the manner in which the attack was carried out and the specific target of the attack. All the sharks were opened from the shoulder area with a very precise opening, like a surgical wound, and only the liver was removed from each shark, while the rest of the organs and flesh remained completely intact, untouched. This means that it was not random at all, but rather a precise targeting for a specific purpose, as if the perpetrator came to take something specific and then left. The fact that the orca targeted a specific part of the shark's body while ignoring the rest of the body is unusual in the behavior of these whales. Why would a predator of this size, which can weigh up to 9 tons and require more than 200 kilograms of food per day, limit itself to just the liver? Why not devour the rest of the body, which is a rich source of energy and food? Even if we assume that what happened was an isolated case and a rare exception, the numbers here say otherwise. We are not talking about 1 or 2 sharks, but 19 sharks killed in one day and in the same way, which makes us face a repeated and deliberate behavior, not just a coincidence. The incident was not the first of its kind, although this time the number of victims was much larger. Back in 2015, orcas were spotted hunting seven-gale sharks, and it was known at the time that these sharks congregate in specific areas of South African waters to escape the great white shark, one of the largest and fiercest predators that threaten them. In other words, these sharks were hiding in places relatively far from the white shark's habitat in order to preserve their lives. Surprisingly, orcas started appearing in these same areas and started attacking the sharks one by one. What's even stranger is that it didn't stop with the sharks, but with the predator they were hiding from in the first place. In 2017, orcas were spotted targeting great white sharks, one of the largest marine predators of all. At the time, the incident sparked widespread interest in the scientific and media communities, as orcas were hunting a creature that weighed nearly 2 tons and 200 kilograms and was more than 6 meters long, the equivalent of a 2-story building. It had an estimated 300 million years of evolutionary history, with an enormous bite force capable of tearing prey apart and pulling up to 15 kilograms of flesh in a single bite. 15 kilograms of meat, an amount that would be difficult for even a human to carry, let alone a creature that pulls it off all at once. No other species of shark has recorded more attacks on humans and boats than the great white shark. They even attack boats themselves, going so far as to bite the bow of a ship. With all these terrifying traits, scientists have spotted white sharks fleeing their known populations in the area after repeated attacks from orcas. Can you imagine that? White sharks, which have dominated the area for years, fleeing in fear of orcas. But despite all this, the question remains, why the liver and why do orcas specifically target shark livers? The secret behind why orcas target sharks' livers is based on their ability to recognize the effect food has on their bodies. Just as humans may feel lethargic or weak after eating a certain meal, while another meal gives them energy and apparent vigor, orcas also experience the effect of food on their physical state. Foods rich in oils have been found to have a positive effect on orcas, and there is no better source of these oils than shark liver, especially great white shark liver. Liver is high in calories and full of beneficial nutrients such as omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin A and vitamin D, all of which give orcas great energy and vigor. In addition, sharks' livers make up almost a third of their body size, making it a hearty meal in terms of quantity, especially if the prey is a large shark. In other words, shark liver can be considered an energy drink for the orca, from which it gets a quick dose of energy without having to waste time or effort in devouring the entire prey and at the same time getting the maximum benefit. So much so that some researchers have described this behavior as almost addictive due to the orca's constant craving for this organ alone. If you think the amazing thing is the orca's ability to recognize and precisely target a useful organ within the prey's body, you need to take a step back and focus on what's next, because the real question is, how did orcas learn this skill? Or more accurately, where did it come from? Have you ever sat with your friends over a meal, and one of them pointed to a particular piece of meat and said it was the tastiest and most beneficial? That's exactly what seems to have happened in the world of orcas. The first time scientists noticed orcas attacking sharks in South Africa, specifically targeting the liver, was through a pair of male orcas known as port and star port. First spotted in the 1980s off the Canadian coast, these two individuals were known for the strength of their relationship. They spent most of their time together, fishing together, swimming together, eating together, and even sleeping next to each other. Although social bonds between members of orca groups are usually strong, the close and extended relationship between these two individuals was remarkable. What also set them apart was the way they communicated. They had unique vocalizations that made it easy for scientists to recognize them and track their movements. Not only did they communicate, but even their dorsal fins were distinctive. One had a right fin and the other a left fin, hence the names port and starport, nautical terms for the two sides of a boat, starboard and port. Researchers believe that this strong bond between the two helped them stand out within the orca community and enabled them to survive in a perilous marine environment. But what's really remarkable is that both have shown exceptional abilities, not only in feeding, but also in what amounts to microsurgery. They were the first to be spotted targeting the livers of sharks, and they became mentors to the rest of the orca population. They would lead the groups and teach them how to locate the sharks, and then how to specifically target the liver, opening the prey's body with a tiny hole to extract what could be considered their energy drink. Since then, orca groups have been adopting this strange and exciting behavior, and their attacks have focused exclusively on sharks' livers. Surprisingly, the repeated incidents in South Africa were not the only ones of their kind. Similar incidents have been recorded in different parts of the world, such as California and New Zealand, although these cases were less in number and frequency compared to what happened in South Africa, specifically at the hands of the famous duo Port and Starport. No matter where these incidents occur or how many there are, one thing that is hard to ignore is the intelligence and skill of this species of dolphins, known as orcas, or killer whales. They are creatures endowed by God with exceptional acumen, which enabled them to adapt to their environment in amazing ways and excel in hunting and survival methods to a degree that is difficult for any other marine creature to match, and perhaps even for any living creature in the entire world. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Who's been following us up to this point? You guys are some of the coolest. Don't forget to give us a like before you leave so we know how many of you made it to the end. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes, we'd love to hear them in the comments section.